Hey everybody, I am Lucid Faith, and I am back here today to talk about TemTem because they officially revealed the starters that you'll be able to choose when you play the game. The YouTube video above is on GameSpot trailers. It's the official exclusive starter reveal trailer. This will be linked down below in the description, of course. And the three TemTem that we're going to be able to choose from is Crystal, the Crystal TemTem, Smazy, the melee TemTem, and Hoochik, the mental TemTem. So what I wanted to do was look at these TemTem and go a little bit more in depth with what they're good against, what they're not good against, so very effective or not very effective, what's good against them, and a couple of their, I feel like, more interesting moves, and talk about who might want to choose each of these TemTem and which one ultimately that I think I'm going to choose. So let's get into this. Now, first up, let's talk about Crystal. Now, Crystal, this TemTem here over on the left, is a Crystal type TemTem. Now, what does that mean? So for Crystal, she or he is very effective against mental type TemTem. She's also very effective against electric type TemTem. So cool, that's basically like super effective moves in Pokemon. Now, but what kind of damage does she take? Now, on-screen graphic will show what damage she resists and what damage is super effective or very effective against this TemTem. So you see that Fire, Earth, Melee are all, Fire, Earth, Melee are all very effective against Crystal, but it resists Electric, Mental, and Toxic. Something to keep in mind. Now, a couple of the cool things about this TemTem is that this TemTem is a chunk. This TemTem has a high HP and high physical defensive stat, right? So that means you can take a hit. Now you may say, well, you just hit it with a special attack then, right? This is where it gets kind of cool. So this TemTem learns the move Mirror Shell at level 3. This move increases the special defense by 2 stages, right? So boom, that's covered. Now, the other thing that I really want to talk about is a move that is covered in this video a little bit later on, and that is the move Crystallize. Now, Crystallize, one of the signature abilities of Crystal, is interesting. So what it does is it provides a +2 defense, but a -1 speed. So you're getting a good boost, but you're also having a negative along with it. So that's something to take into account, right? So basically, for Crystal, who would want to choose this? This is going to be your TemTem if you don't want to die. If you want to have a tank of a TemTem on your team right off the bat, something that can hold down the line while your other, because they're all double battles, while your other TemTem deals the damage, this is your go-to starter. All right, next up is Smazy. This is the melee type TemTem. Now, looking at it, one, it's adorable. It's not fire type. The moment I looked at it, I thought it was gonna be a fire type TemTem. It is not. It is melee, basically the fighting type equivalent in Pokemon. Now, on-screen graphic shows that this TemTem, when taking damage, is weak to mental, weak to digital, and it resists other melee attacks. Pretty straightforward. Now, something that I think is interesting about this TemTem is that it has the highest base stamina of the 3 starting TemTem. In addition to that, it has the highest base attack and speed, which basically means you're going to get in there, you're going to hit, and hopefully KO your opponent really quick. Now, a move it was just shown on screen was a move called Show Off. Now, this technique increases its attack by 1. Again, going into the idea of buffing up, hitting 1, two-shotting your opponent, moving on. The other types of abilities it has and its techniques honestly aren't anything that special from what I've seen. It's a pretty straightforward TemTem, and that's all there is to it. It's mostly, there are some self buffs it gets. Gets Intimidation, which is an ability that makes a TemTem untargetable for the next turn. Could be cool. But other than that one move that it learns by level up, I'm not too impressed with its overall techniques. Now, that being said, I still think it'll be a great TemTem. Now, the question is, who would choose this? Whose TemTem is this one? This is for the people who want the brute force solution. These are the people who punch their way out of situations. If this is you, Smazzy is your TemTem. Now, last but not least is Hoochik. Now, Hoochik is a TemTem that I'm probably the most excited for. Spoiler alert, this is probably going to be my starter right here. 1, I love the design, but 2, it is a mental type, and look at that, it is adorable. But getting more to what Hoochik is all about, it is a mental type TemTem. So what that means is it is very effective against melee, and it is also very effective against neutral. So again, this is the type chart. I'll have this in the description down below as well. Each of these TemTems are good against some, bad against others. Now on screen, you will now see what Hoochik is, what it takes damage from. It's defensive typing, right? So it can resist neutral, it can resist melee. It takes very effective damage from electric, digital, and crystal. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed the synergy between these 3 starters. Graphic on screen shows that crystal is very effective against mental, mental is very effective against melee, and melee is very effective against crystal, the classic trio. Now, diving in a little bit deeper to Hoochik, one of the techniques that I am the most excited about is a technique it learns called Lullaby. Now, you may ask, why are you excited about Lullaby? Well, Lullaby is a technique that puts your opponents to sleep, right? But here's the thing. There's no RNG in TemTem. There's no accuracy. There's no 60% chance to paralyze, 20% chance to whatever, right? It either works or doesn't work. And in this case, when you use it, unless there's some kind of outside influence, it puts the opposing team to sleep. The whole opponent team falls asleep for 2 turns, right? Now, let's talk about the asleep condition, because that's a little bit different than Pokemon. So if you come over here, asleep. Now what this does, asleep TemTem cannot attack, but if they are damaged, they wake up. The condition is removed. So any damage done to the TemTem will remove the sleep condition. So what that means is you can use Lullaby, put your opponent's team to sleep, and buff up. You can start setting up, and for 2 guaranteed turns, they can't do anything. And if you're ready, you can then attack earlier and get the advantage. So that could be cool. Now, something that's interesting, mental type TemTem, which Hoochik is one, are immune to being put to sleep. Now, looking over Hoochik's techniques that it does get a few more techniques that are more status-based, more strategic, like tenderness, lowering the attack of a opposing TemTem, different things like that. Because of this, I would recommend this TemTem to people who are more strategic, who want to think about each step a little bit more rather than going the brute force route. I think this TemTem will be a little more complex than the other two. So if you love the design and that aspect and how status moves aren't RNG, this is your go-to TemTem. Alright y'all, in conclusion, these TemTem look great. There really is no wrong answer here because at the end of the day, it's preference, right? You're gonna be able to build a balanced team around whatever you choose. And the other thing to keep in mind is this is an MMO. You can trade with other tamers at any point. And there is breeding, right? So people are going to be breeding their starters probably as soon as they can and start trading. I know I most likely will. So you're going to be able to get all of these starter TemTem much easier than in a traditional Pokemon game. Now, for me, I will be going with Hoochik. That'll be my starter of choice come January 21st when early access hits. I am super excited. But y'all, that's it for me. I am Lucid Faith. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Would greatly appreciate it. And of course, I do stream over on Twitch over at twitch.tv/LucidFaith every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday starting at 6 o'clock Central. But y'all, last but not least, I want to remind you that you matter. I'll see y'all next time.